Are you brand new?
I mean, I live in Jersey, but I can't say that I think it's fun.
It's nice.
Can you get down on plane or is it affordable?
So it's two separate parts of the north side, and that's the north, and then so there's all these.
You want to just hold on to these as this owner's cottage. So we're going to do is we'll do our service. At the end of the service,
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services here this afternoon, we would kindly ask if everyone would please turn off or silence all electronic devices. Thank you.
For those wearing a creocan, a black ribbon, if you are able to, please rise. In ancient times, and even today when we lose one as dear as Bobby, we tear a piece of clothing that is symbolic of our heart is rendered, our heart is torn, and it is up to all those here today to heal the hearts of those who mourn for however long that may take. You wear your creocan for 30 days from today, no matter where you are, no matter what clothing you're wearing, no matter whom you come into contact with, to let others know that you have lost a cherished, dear one. As Bobby, please repeat after me. Baruch Atah Adonai Dayan Ha'emet. Praised are you, eternal judge. Adonai Natan Va'adonai Lakach Yehi Shem Adonai Mivorach. The Lord giveth, the Lord taketh. Praise be the name of the Lord. Please tear your ribbon about a half an inch, and then you may be seated. Adam Vaterechu Benenosh Vachashvechu Adam Yavedama Yamav Kesever Baboker Atzit V'chalev Lev L'molevi Ovish Tashev Enosh Vatomer Shuv v'nei Adam. O God, our are we that you take knowledge of us, or that you make account of us? We are like a fleeting breath. Our days are as a shadow. In the morning we flourish and grow up, and in the evening we are cut down and wither. You turn us to contrition and declare, return to me, or that we were wise and would consider our final end. The glory of humankind resides with us, the living. In eternal memory we endure forever. In the heritage that we leave, we gather today to remember but also celebrate the life of Bobby. We assemble with those who love her and will always love her the most. The door by door, from generation to generation, in the shadow that has fallen your hearts, your minds and your souls, we raise our voices together in prayer. The source of life, asking for comfort and strength. Who among us here has not passed through our own trials and bereavements? Some of us bear fresh wounds on our own hearts, and therefore feel more keenly the kinship of sorrow with those who love and will always love Bobby the most. Others of us, whose days of mourning are more remote, still recall when a silent hug or a kiss or a word brought comfort to our sorrowing hearts. All things pass, all that lives must die, all that we prize is but lent to us. We are travelers on the same road that leads to the same end. So to the beloved family of Bobby, we know that we gather with many mixed emotions, certainly the emotion of knowing that she is no longer in this world, but with the knowledge that she is on her way to her eternal resting place in all God's speed, to be with those who have gone before her in a reunification in love. And also with the knowledge, as is tradition in Judaism, to name boys and girls that are not even born yet after dearly beloved ones, that I can certainly foresee in your family. Boys and girls being born in years to come that will have the honor of being named after Bobby. And they will be taught that they are named after a very, very special person that we gather here today with love. And they will be taught that their namesake is one that we will cherish. The door by door, from generation to generation. Are you sure you're done at 3? Yes. Okay, I'm just checking. But others will have little Bobbies running around your home, and they will have the knowledge that they are named after someone that we gather with much love today, and on that certainly we can say, Amen. We begin those words of love with Richard.
Bobby was a woman of such high ethical caliber. She was well worth waiting a lifetime for. 43 years in my case. I knew very early on that we were kindred spirits with our love of diners, Chinese food, and Jewish delis, our love of travel, and our willingness to buck the usual order of things. Bobby once told me of a time when her father, Walter, took her to an Eagles game as a guest of the Eagles, and Eagles management actually, and she rooted for the opposing Green Bay Packers at the game, drawing her a whack on the head from a nearby woman. Needless to say, Walter never took Bobby back to an Eagles game. But in addition, Bobby was a New York Mets fan while living all her life in the Philadelphia area, in and around Philadelphia. Bobby was an avid animal lover who in 1999, when we met, had 3 cats, Mittens, Mindy, and Snuggles, and later on Slip the guinea pig. She treated them with the love and attention that would normally be given to one's own children. Later, after our retirement in 2011, we traveled to many wildlife safari parks and zoos. She really enjoyed that. She had great artistic talent, as you could see outside there, and really enjoyed drawing cartoon characters and wildlife, especially big cats and dinosaurs. During our working years and in retirement, we traveled to all 50 states, parts of Canada, and such places as the UK, France, Cyprus, and Egypt, including the pyramids of Giza, which was her favorite. Well, in conclusion, Bobby, I love you with all my heart and soul, and you will always be in my heart as you're an absolutely wonderful wife to me, and love me at least as much, maybe more. And I'm sure one day we'll eventually be together again, forever and always. Thank you.
In Judaism, the highest compliment that you can ever call a woman is the term Eshet Chayil, or in Yiddish, Eshes Chayil means a woman of valor. And for Bobby, these words are read with love. A good wife. Who can find her? She is worth far more than rubies. She brings good and not harm all the days of her life. She girds herself with strength and finds her trades profitable. Wise counsel is on her tongue, and her home never suffers for warmth. She stretches her hands to the poor and reaches her arms to the needy. All her friends praise her, and her family blesses her. She is known at the gates as she sits with the elders. Dignity and honor are her garb. She smiles at the future. We call up with love, Stan.
Well, it's nice to see everybody here today. And we're kind of here the way I think Aunt Bobby would like to see us. Can you hear me now? That in a relaxed fashion where we can think of her and feel good about who she was. I think Richard kind of nailed it in his description. I mean, she could be contradictory. She I would call her quirky, but I only have the fondest of memories of Aunt Bobby. From when I was a little boy, and she babysat me, and through my childhood, where she would always take the time to talk to me. If we were sitting at a holiday dinner and all the family was there, she would come sit next to me at the kids' table where we got relegated, and always take the time to talk to me and visit. And to me, she always took the time to talk to me and try and understand what I was thinking. And I thought it was unbelievably kind of her. And we had a very deep connection for a very long time. She taught me how to drive, which was not easy in the cars I was driving. We were just talking about this yesterday. I think that we would get in the car and I would be all excited, and we'd drive by my friends on the corner playing, and I was 15 years old, getting ready to get my driver's license, and I would go by and I'd wave at the guys in the corner, and they'd wave back, and I was all excited, and then the car would break down, and Aunt Bobby and I would walk back with our heads down, trying to figure out how we were going to get past the guys playing on the corner, until my dad got home and go get the car. She went with me to get my driver's license, and she liked to tell me the story how she would call my mother and give her a play-by-play of what was going on while I was taking the test. And she was unbelievably thoughtful with me. I think I remember her sitting in my kitchen with my mother doing the invitations to my bar mitzvah, where she hand wrote all the invitations. She had the most beautiful handwriting of anybody you could ever imagine. When I was about 6 years old, 7 years old, she gave me a folder to collect pennies. And I had a penny collection. I think I gave it to Greg. I don't know what he's done with it. But the oldest pennies you could imagine. We were really excited about it. We would sit and we would put the pennies in, and we would go through jars looking through old pennies and find which ones fit into the hole. And I kind of liked money, and she helped me like it even more. And we talked about what it was and the dates on the pennies and the ability to collect coins. And it made me think of things as a little kid that I otherwise probably would have never thought of. It was a journey that always was punctuated by her taking the time to try and give me a little lesson so I could learn something, whatever that something was. And after her first husband, Arnie, passed away, or actually even prior, we had spent a lot of time together. Arnie and I would go to the racetrack on Fridays, and then we'd come back and hang out the evenings. We just spent a lot of time together. And when Arnie passed, and Bobby was alone, she came to work with me. And to the point where everybody called her Aunt Bobby. All the people at work were attached to her and liked her. She asserted her personality there too. It was a treat having her there through those years. Really was. It's so kind of you, Angel, to be here. I really appreciate you coming. All of those times, I was glad to see her get away from all those cats a little bit, because I was allergic to cats, and my son was allergic to cats. And, that connection went not just through me, but through my wife and my children. Her first husband was Greg's godfather. When Roz went to the hospital to have the baby, Greg, they came and watched Michael, and she liked to joke with Roz that it's the only baby that comes with instructions. She had pages and pages, Roz had pages and pages of instructions how to care for Michael, pasted to the refrigerator so she could go to the index and look them up and see what had to be done where. And she took her responsibilities very seriously when it came to those kids. And I'll never forget her coming over to the house, and Michael was crawling all over me a little bit like his son does to him now, and his daughter does. And I look at them, and it comes back to me. She says to him, somebody likes their daddy a lot, as he was crawling all over me. And when I see Michael and his interaction with his kids, I see the same thing again. And I think of her often when I see the kids crawling all over Michael like that. It's very special to have somebody like that in your life. that you're as close to and that you care about and that cares about you. And, you know, she would come up to me even at work, and I could be a little difficult at work because, you know, it's work, it's a job. But she would come up to me and says, doesn't cost anything to be nice. And and I'd smile and I'd try and be nice for 4 or 5 minutes, which is not always the easiest thing to do, but she liked to remind me of that. And she'd stop by and she'd look at me and go, it's easier to smile than it is to frown. And this is who she was. She was somebody that was thinking about others, and she had a very kind and generous heart to me. I'm really happy that I had her in my life. I'll miss her.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני ראוי לו אחסר, בינת אשר יבצני, על מי מנוחות ינחלני. Those were the first 2 verses of the 23rd Psalm. And in Psalm 23, King David writes that God will walk us through the valley of the shadow of death. King David never writes that God will leave us there. So one day when your mourning for Bobby is more remote, what will be left? And your hearts are simply the happy and the joy-filled memories. And again, those will be the memories that will be passed down, the door by door, from generation to generation. If you know the traditional words of the 23rd Psalm, we say them out loud together. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We call up with love, Angel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am honored to be here, and I'm going to sing hello just a little bit because actually the way I met Bobby in 2003 when I started working the company, family company with her, she was the shorter person than I, so we kind of laughed about that a little bit and we became friends. And I used to pass by her desk often and just be enamored by some of the sketches that she had out pinned to her office space. And one day, I had probably settled in about a week or so after I had been there, and I introduced myself and I said, "These are beautiful drawings." And she said, "Well, thank you, I made them." And so I think from that point on, we started talking, and a lot of people never knew that, but we became very good friends, and we used to sit together in the lunchroom and have lunch and talk about wildlife, talk about the wolves and the birds. She would look at all these birds and be fascinated with them, and we would just have these conversations about art as well. We shared our creative thoughts together, and then she retired. And at that point, I was very honored to have that call one day, and that began a different journey in my friendship with Bobby and Richard. I kind of became part of the exploring New Jersey diners and those memories of meeting up in different locations, whether it be 2 hours, 3 hours away, or I had to try to figure out where I was going because I had no sense of direction, but they were always there. And Bobby and Richard were on the phone guiding me through where I had to go to get there to experience these giant diners with them. They used to call me at times when they were on the road, whether it was down on their journeys to Florida for the spring training for the baseball, or whether it was heading out to a national park. We'd be on the phone talking with each other when they weren't local, and many, many times they were gracious enough to share their home with me when I knew I had a very early meeting to be to, and I lived 2 hours plus away. So they were gracious guests, and I shared many a dinner at their home and admired the beautiful art that Bobby had all along her walls in her home that she had drew. And I was honored also to be their guest for a Thanksgiving dinner when I was going through some crazy times, and it was just wonderful to have such loving, caring people and be friends at heart with such beautiful people in my life. And I'm blessed and honored to have been a part of their family, a friend that is very, very hard to forget and will always be in my heart. I'm just honored and thankful that Richard called me up and shared the news and asked me to come up here and share some words. Thank you, everyone.
Certainly, according to your relationship with Bobby, you called her by different names, a family name, a nickname, a silly name, a special name. When we say the words, we will remember. Please say out loud the name that Bobby was always known to you as when you had the honor of being in her presence, the name that you called her, and that will be the name that she will always be known to you as when you have the privilege of thinking about her. Say that name out loud. In the rising of the sun and at its going down, we will remember. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember. In the blowing of the wind, in the opening of the buds, and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember. In the beginning of the year, and when it ends, we will remember. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember. As long as we live, she too will live, for she is now a part of us, as we will always remember. With love, we call up Marshall.
Hello, I'm Bobby's son-in-law, and my wife Lynn couldn't make it, but she has some very kind words to say about her mother. I regret not being able to be here due to illness. I will deeply miss my mother very much. I remember my mother being a very feisty person, and I've come to the realization that it was her greatest strength, and has been seen through her illness, my father's illness, and her illness as a young woman. Growing up, we shared a great love for our family pets. She was always very supportive when I brought home strays and allowed me to keep them. She was young at heart as a mother She liked to join us on kids' games. I felt quite proud of her. My greatest joy was seeing my mom as a grandmother. She had a hidden talent. She made baby outfits for Elizabeth, which was very creative and nicely done. I was blessed. She was gifted with her artwork as well. She drew magnificent animal drawings and a remarkable drawing of my father. I will miss her very much. She is at peace now. I'm thankful, praise God. I've got something also that I put together. Sometimes it's the smallest kindness that a loved one that we will remember for a lifetime. There are many little kindnesses Barbara showed me over the years, but there's one in particular that makes me smile. For many years, Barbara, that's what I called Bobby, Barbara would call me on my birthday singing "Happy Birthday to You" in her distinctive voice. I will cherish Barbara for the kindness she gave me and hope you too can recall little kindnesses to you also. Thank you.
If you're able, we rise for the El Malech Rachamim, the prayer of our departed. Ebre Rachamim, Shochim Bamromim, Hamatzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, Im Giroshim Turin Gizera Rakia, Nazirim, and Nishmat Tova, Bat Walter and Edith, Shalachayilama, Barachamim, Yasirehu, Besitzer, Kinafarilamim, Vitzra, Hachaim, and Nishmata, Adonai Nacharata, V'tanu ach b'shalom al mishkava v'nomor. Amen. Once again, in the space provided, please say the name that Bobby will forever be known to you as in love. Compassionate God, Eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. Before we conclude with the mourner's Kaddish, the family would cordially welcome those here after the service to meet with them at a little place we call Olga's Diner. The new one, not the old one. And if you would like to give from your hearts, in the name of Bobby, you may give to either the American Lung Association or the WWF, the World Wildlife Fund. The mourner's Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'yalma divrach chirutei, b'yamlich machutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, u'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא. ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקדושה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. And finally, the beautiful words of when I die, if you need to weep, cry for someone walking the street beside you, and when you need me, put your arms around others and give them what you need to give me. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands and souls touch souls. You can love me most by sharing your simchas and multiplying your mitzvot. You can love me most by letting me live in your deeds and not on your mind. And when you say Kaddish for me, remember what our tradition teaches. Love doesn't die, only people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. And may the memory of Bobby always be a blessing to you from generation to generation, as we all say. Amen. You may be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would ask if you would rise once more, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our services here today. Thank you so much for joining us to honor Bobby's memory.